The development of the Dyson sphere has rapidly accelerated humanity's technological progress. A small spacecraft approaches Dior Module 77 claiming to be carrying transfer students. Meanwhile, Haruto loses an eating contest to his childhood friend and crush Shoko. The transfer students, revealed to be Dorshans, infiltrate the module in class. Haruto steals glances at Shoko and his friend Kuma, encourages him to confess. Pal Elf leads his team towards the school building where he overhears Haruto telling Shoko how it would be nice if everyone just shared without competition. Angered Elf kicks him and calls him a kami. Later, Haruto's confession to Shoko is interrupted by a sudden invasion by Dorshan wolves. Splicer drones fail to hold them back and the Jorg begins an evacuation while their allies the Eris engage the Dorsan fleet. Elf assassinates several scientists, but one launches the Valrave model Hido to the surface, which Haruto and the others see. Tragically, Shoko is caught in an explosion. Stricken by grief, Haruto boards the Hito, swearing to destroy the intruders. A wife attacks Haruto, who is unable to operate Hito. When he recalls Shoko's and Elf's words to be more assertive, he accepts the system's prompt, asking if he is willing to abandon his humanity. Haruto operates the Hito and obliterates the WAFs while a student named Akira streams the fight online. Haruto becomes an internet celebrity. When he climbs out, Elf kills him. Strangely, Haruto survives and he bites Elf. Dyson spheres, mechas, and vampires. What's not to love? Sakiena and Kuma discover Haruto's body, but so do the Dorsan. Suddenly, LL fires on his comrades, injuring Adre's eye and allowing Haruto's friends to escape. Later, things get more bizarre than Jojo. LLF claims he is Haruto. The Darshan invasion is successful as the Dior surrenders. After Haruto convinces them of who he is, he tells them of his plan to retrieve Hito. News of LL's betrayal reaches the Dorsan High Command. Haruto kills the scientists inspecting Hiro, carries his body inside, and is joined by Saki. She ties up LL's body and he bites his body again, and their bodies return to normal. LLF is extremely confused. Hito activates, but it slips into space where they fend off an attack by Dorsh and WAFs. In response, Adre and Cuvius already aboard their ideal fighters. When Hito is badly damaged, LLF breaks free and takes Saki hostage. LLF's confusion grows when Adre calls him a traitor as the battle rages on. Haruto receives a call from Shoko, who is revealed to have survived. Suddenly, Hito stops moving as its capacitor reaches critical levels. However, LL urges him to continue, remarking that beyond his limits lies possibility. The capacitor breaks 666 and Hito experiences a burst of power, badly damaging Andrea's ideal. When an Eris fleet counterattacks, the Dorsans are forced to retreat. The victory is short-lived. Elf demands to know what happened while he was unconscious. Haruto reunites with Shoko but cannot bring himself to confess. He later confides in Kuman that a monster like him cannot have feelings. Elf is taken into custody, but he leaves Haruto with a cryptic message: microphone earthquake, and at 3:14 the answer will be behind him. The Academy recovers with the help of Eris and Senator Figueroa. When Haruto arrives, he is hailed as a hero. Meanwhile, Elf is interrogated and his moniker is the One-Man Army is revealed. Later, Haruto has his blood tested and nothing looks out of the ordinary, but his healing factor is unnaturally fast. He suddenly succumbs to his vampiric urges and Aina slaps him to his senses. Lion, their teacher, brings Haruto to meet with Figueroa. He shows him the overwhelming support he has received online and Haruto agrees to cooperate with Eris. Meanwhile, Elf breaks free, kills all the guards in the room and initiates Plan D7. His former unit also received Colonel Kane's blessing to reconquer Module 77. Haruto cooperates with the Eris to ensure a smooth evacuation. Takahi assists in clearing out the school, and she learns that Satomi is still trying to convince his sister Akira to evacuate. Elf makes a daring escape, killing hundreds of men. Razo, jealous of Haruto, intimidates him into handing over the valve. Shoko, who is searching for Haruto, instead discovers Akira, who wiretaps the Dior evacuation ship and watches as thick smoke obscures their path. The ship screeches to a halt and panic sets in. It slowly dawns on Haruto that Elf's prophecy is coming true. He turns around at exactly 3:14, where LLF proposes that they start a revolution together. The Eris Senate unanimously agreed to defend until they can procure Dior's valve rave technology. LLF predicts that Haruto will be forced to cooperate with him when the time comes. He instructs Haruto to make a peace sign. Haruto rejoins Figueroa and witnesses a pilot attempting to pilot Hidadai when the Dorsans attack. Earlier than expected, Figueroa orders a retreat without the students. Haruto is apprehended as Shoko overhears from Akira's wiretap that the Eris plans to abandon them. When Naruto fails to answer her call, she requests Kuma's help at the emergency meeting. Shoko is distrusted because she refuses to reveal her source, but she convinces them that she is dead serious by suddenly stripping while Takai and the others distract the Eris soldiers. Shoko Q Puma
and Yusuke rescue Haruto. They bring him outside, where he reveals the
Era's true intentions. Figueroa starts blasting at the students, injuring Razo. However, after Haruto bites a Era's soldier to reclaim Hito, the Era's units surrender. Bel Elf reveals that the Dortian military has conquered all of Dior save for this module, and he flashes a peace sign at Haruto. Shoko reasons that they can use the Valve Rave as a bargaining chip. Figueroa can't risk the Valkyria falling into Dortian hands, so he agrees to cooperate while Otter battles their remaining defenses. Haruto destroys the connecting beams of Module 77, forcibly separating it from the Dior. Back on land, Shoko declares their independence. A week has passed since Shoko declared independence. The students become unruly, but with a few rules set in place. Relative pieces established while the Eris and Dortia have a Mexican standoff in space. The Eris views New Dior as a sideshow, and they refocus their efforts on the Dorsans. Meanwhile, Mr. Kabukawa inspects the Hito and marvels at its technological superiority. He remarks that its creator Dr. Takashima must have made a deal with the devil. A sudden power outage triggers a freezing winter. Kabukawa tells them to recalibrate the internal thermometer, which Yusu claims knows where it is. Ruma drags him away to conduct repairs. The freezing temperatures cause the satisfaction, especially from Takahi. Yusuke nervously begins repairs, but when he sees the pain Ruma is in, he is reminded of the suffering his classmates are going through. Tensions run high, causing Saki and Takati to butt heads as people start blaming Shoko. Haruto and Shoko's rendition of Jingle Bells fails to calm them down. Saki and Takati nearly kill each other, but Yusuke finally reaches the big red button, restoring power to the module. The conflict between Takati and Saki is resolved for now. Haruto takes Shoko's advice and they film a music video to show the world that Module 77 lives on. The video is a huge success and donations start pouring in. Meanwhile, Haruto and Saki discover several other Valve Raves. Haruto wants to keep this a secret and Saki steals a kiss unbeknownst to them. LLF is also skulking about ignoring Haruto's warning. Saki pilots Valve Rave, whom she later dubs Carmilla. Haruto chases after her and she reveals she has neither family nor friends. Haruto comforts her, but she suddenly bites him. Hawaiian is appointed the new Dior representative while Kibikawa conducts an inspection of Hito. Saki, now in Haruto's body, enjoys teasing Takati. Meanwhile, Elf concludes that Module 77 was designed to breed potential Valve Rave pilots. The next day, Haruto deals with the fallout of Saki's impersonation of him. Amazingly, Shoko recognizes that it wasn't Haruto and she begins fighting Saki over his affections. Their love triangle is cut short as the Dorsans invade again. How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man? The attack catches New Dior completely by surprise, but even more so when they see Saki piloting a Valve Rave. Saki's overconfidence costs her as the ideals fight back. Haruto arrives to help, but X introduces that Valve Reves are only effective at close range. They fire missiles from afar, severely hampering Saki and Haru's strength. Few Beer destroys the last remaining Eris ship in orbit, killing Figueroa. Saki's mental is in shambles as she realizes she is an Immortal. She freezes up, leaving Haruto completely at the mercy of Kvur and Exons. However, Shoko manages to rally Takati and the others to cheer her on. Saki's idle instincts take over and she manages to harness the full power of Carmilla. With increased maneuverability, she severely damages Xion's ideal. The Dorsans are forced to retreat and New Dior celebrates their victory. However, unbeknownst to them, Adre has infiltrated Module 77,200 years later. Saki, now a renowned Valve Rave pilot, remembers her promise back in the present. Satomi attempts to commandeer the Valve Raves into student council custody. Unfortunately, democracy hits as the students vote Haruto to manage them. Later, Haruto confides in Aina and Kuma that he was reluctant to tell the others about Valve Reves because it turns one into a vampire. Satomi is disgruntled after having his authority undermined during a cooking session. Shoko rejects LLF's written demands, forcing him stage a coup. He seals several hallways and subdues both Saki and Razo. After Haruto learns of the coup, he heads to the hangar where LLF is waiting. After a brief confrontation, Haruto is shot by Adre. He reunites with Elf, but is horrified to see Haruto still alive. Hell Elf proclaims Haruto as his new right hand toward revolution against orders. Kavir badly damages the hangar. Elf manages to push them out through a hatch, but Haruto's leg is trapped, leaving Saki as their only defense. Each noon, using magnetic clamps, seals Carmilla's maneuverability. Elf allows Haruto to bite him so he can pilot the Hito, where Haruto discovers Elf has prepared a battle strategy. He severely damages Noon's ideal, forcing yet another Dorsan retreat. Huma is horrified to see Anna's dead body floating in space, having been caught in Kuber's attack. Meanwhile, Haruto looks inside Elf's pocket where a picture of a girl named Lick drives him to tears. Elf wakes up from a dream of him and Licked, and he warns everyone that in 6 hours New Dior will fall. Aina's death deeply affects everyone as especially Huma. Meanwhile, Kane gives Adre one last chance to retrieve Elf. Shoko frees Akira, but she herself breaks down in tears after remembering Ina. Satomi is surprised that his sister is with someone else. Tensions run high as Human demands to pilot a Valve Rave while Razo attempts to arm himself. Haruto and Saki pilot their respective Valve Raves to battle the Dorsons, but Adre
has already infiltrated them. Haruto and Saki struggle against the metal clamp to make
matters worse. Adre has commandeered the abandoned Yer fleet, threatening to destroy the school unless they surrender. Desperation sets in. Huma is injured while Satomi unsuccessfully demands that LLF surrender. Haruto speaks to LLF, who claims that with just 8 lives lost he can save New Dior. The others are hesitant, but Haruto says he trusts him. After appealing to Elf's dreams and unfinished business, Elf changes his mind.
He will save New Dior with no losses. He instructs Haruto and Saki to
shoot a specific point in the module which drains the artificial seawater. They are freed from the metal bonds and Adre's fleet is neutral. The Dorsons attempt to stop Haruto from using his Harakiri blade, but LL buys him time. LL bails out just as Haruto destroys the Dorsan fleet. Meanwhile, Kuma is frustrated over having accomplished nothing. Haruto retrieves LL, who claims he calculated
that Haruto would find him. They're just roommates. An online memorial for Ainer rallies more support
for New Dior. LL begins making battle plans for the fledgling state while Haruto struggles with increasingly frequent vampiric outbreaks. LL begins a mandatory military training program. Rizzo repeatedly attempts to pilot a Valrave and LL dissuades Cuba from doing the same. Huma instead devotes his time to handling weapons, greatly worrying Haruto and Shoko. The Dorsons attack again,
but thanks to LL's training they mount a coherent defense. Haruto and Saki are lured away in their Valve Reeves,
allowing a second fleet to attack the module. They realize the diversion too late as Adre and the other Dorsons keep them occupied. New Dior buckles under the sudden onslaught, causing a power outage. Huma prevents Razo from piloting a Valve Brave, but after a brief argument they both set aside their differences and bond over a shared desire to avenge and protect. Puma pilots the defensive Hichiba, blocking volleys of laser fire,
while Razo pilots the Hikamanari, a hyper-offensive Valve Rave boasting
massive arms. Guided by LLF they fend off the Dorsums, forcing Commodore Menninger to utilize their accelerator cannon to their shock. Kuma parries it and fires back, handing them another massive L. Kane orders another retreat. Huma and Razor are hailed as heroes, but Haruto is furious that LLF allowed them to pilot the Valve Reefs. However, Huma reassures Haruto that they did so of their own volition. Meanwhile, Kibukawa inspects an incomplete Valve. Elf confronts him with his knowledge that most of the school staff are ex-military. Kabukawa reveals that the entirety of Module 77 was designed for the Valve Raves. Kabukawa reveals that Dior's declaration of neutrality pushed them to design the Valve Raves. Lion is also one of the few teaching staff that is an ex-military. Lion coordinates with the heiress regarding their approach to the neutral moon base, while Shoko continues to bond with Akira, Haruto and the Offs plan to test their new powers, but Lion suddenly holds an election to officially choose a leader for New Dior. Satomi, Rizzo and Lion all announce their candidacies. Elf, who really loves paperwork, volunteers to oversee it. Haruto encounters Takati when his vampiric urges cause him to attack her. Luckily, Saki is there to stop him and they write off his behavior as raging male hormones. Haruto grows anxious about his worsening condition and Saki promises to kill him if necessary. Shoko is urged to run for president, garnering the support of various clubs. Meanwhile, Kane begins the final operation. Prime infiltrates the office and discovers that H. Noon is also there. When Shoko goes missing, Haruto finds her at the shrine where he learns that she has been fearing for the safety of her father, the former prime minister. After a lengthy heart-to-heart, Shoko decides to run for president, but as she leaves, Haruto
suffers another vampiric attack after Satomi's boring
speech and slogan. Shoko takes the podium and promises to hold a school festival on the moon, and the audience cheers her on. Meanwhile, Saki allows herself to be assaulted by Haruto. When the ordeal is over, a barely dressed Saki informs him that Shoko won. Shoko's father, Ruji, is put on trial for falsely declaring neutrality. Meanwhile, Haruto meets with Saki. Rizzo tests his valve, which he has dubbed the Nabu Lightning. Meanwhile, Nujior's new cabinet,
made up of Yusuke, Judo, Kuma, Satomi, Takahi, Rion,
Iori and Ari pose for an official photograph. They deny Shoko's request to wear manga-themed t-shirts. Haruto goes on an impromptu date with Saki. Failing to answer Shoko's call, she receives a congratulatory text from Akira, but the sudden social interaction briefly induces a panic attack. Haruto and Saki's date is interrupted by yet another Dorsan attack, led by Admiral Delis, the Valve pilot strap.
In his Module 77 retreats, prompting Delius to order a frontal assault. This plays into LLF's plan
which is to utilize Haruto's Harakiri blade to destroy the entire fleet. Elf hands Satomi Sam several contingency plans and he accompanies Shoko to address Delius. Shoko is horrified to see that her father has been sentenced to death when she learns that Haruto has a clear shot at the flagship. LLF reasons that if they miss this chance, they will all die. Shoko is unable to decisively act, but her father is proud that she has become prime minister. He remarks that adults are the soil for the new generation. Just as Haruto destroys the Dorson fleet with his Harakiri blade, their victory is short-lived as a drill suddenly penetrates the module. Satomi is unable to act. Elf did not account for this. Kane leads the assault while Noon attends to the drill. Carmilla carries the Hito back, but before Haruto enters he suddenly proposes. 200 years later, Saki tells a young boy the story of the founder. Saki refuses his proposal, and she urges him to rescue the others, but deep down she is conflicted. Haruto reunites with Elf and they learn that the drill is also spewing poison gas lethal to the module's atmosphere. Meanwhile, Kane apprehends Kibikawa, whom he recognizes as an important cog in the Valley Rave mystery. Saki, Kuma, and Razo do their best to hold off the Dorsons. Satomi begs Akira to evacuate, but she refuses to leave. Haruto and Elf find the entire special hangar slaughtered at Kane's hands. He shoots Haruto, but realizes he is also a vampire. Elf's assassination attempt is also stifled. Outside, Razo is pummeled by a Dorsian countermeasure to Valve Rave's gigantic heating irons dubbed Pierre del Sol, which superheat their Valve Raves. Both Kuman and Saki succumb to the heat, while Kane beats up his former protege. Shoko attempts to persuade Akira to evacuate as the drill draws closer. Akira is moved by Shoko's declaration that the two are friends, but the drill bursts from underneath, knocking Shoko unconscious. Akira, overcoming her past trauma of being bullied, steps outside and discovers a Valve Rave unit, the highest Obi, which she pilots to rescue Shoko using Hayasobi. She hacks the drill and the WAFF units. Haruto and Elf are able to escape into the Hito while Noon's ideal is badly damaged. LLF persuades Haruto to gun down Kane, but it becomes apparent that Kane isn't human either. He covers himself in energy and hijacks the seemingly dysfunctional Valve Rave 2. LLPH is at a loss. And don't forget to like and subscribe and turn notifications on so you never miss out on another video. Until next time, take care.